Hey, Ray Martin here for Church of the Ascension Family Life. Have you ever given your wife or husband a gift only to have them not really appreciate it in the way that you had hoped? I live in a house with a two-car garage, and when my wife Brandy and I were dating, she would come over to visit. Often she'd bring her dog with her, and maybe it was icy or raining out, and she'd have to get out of her car, and it's just a real mess. And so I thought, her birthday's coming up. I'd like to do something nice for her, give her something really thoughtful and considerate. I'm going to get her a garage door opener. That gift has gone down as one of the worst gifts she's ever been given, and every year she reminds me about it. But that's the thing, people don't value affection in the same way, and that's what we're talking about today. Love preferences. There's a fantastic book by Dr. Greg and Lisa Popcak called Just Married, The Catholic Guide to Surviving the First 5 Years of Marriage. And in it, they discuss the fact that our level of fulfillment in our marriage can be thought of like a bank account, meaning the relationship has a balance and that there's things that you can do for one another that are like making deposits into this account. But if one person really isn't giving into the relationship, then the account can go into kind of a negative balance. Now, I like this analogy. I talk about it often, and once I even sent Brandy flowers, and I wrote a little note on an actual bank deposit slip so that she would know that I was making intentional effort to do something nice for her. But sometimes you can do for the other person, and they just don't really see any of the effort that you're making to enhance the relationship. And this can lead a person to think, well, what's the point, or feel unappreciated. And this is really one of the most difficult things for couples to change about themselves. This is one of the biggest reasons why relationships don't work out. According to the Popcaks, the leading cause for marital breakdown is when people aren't willing to love their spouse more than their comfort zone. It's not that couples aren't compatible, they're just not really willing to do what it takes to make their spouse feel loved. Recently, Father Tom during a homily said that love isn't a feeling, love is a choice. And I think that's a great segue into what we're talking about here today, because I'm sure at some point you've heard the term love language. In the Popcak's book, they use the term love style, which is a nice way to think about it. They identify 3 categories of styles that people tend to fall into in the way that they receive affection. There's the visual person that's all about seeing that you love them. So love notes and flowers and gifts are really important to this person. There's the auditory person that needs to hear that you love them. So they want to talk and they want to hear you say I love you a lot. And then there's the kinesthetic style of person. And they're like, talk is cheap. Show me that you love me by doing something for me. And so a kinesthetic person needs to feel love. One of the activities in the Just Married book is to sit down and write out 25 specific things that your spouse has done or could do that would make you feel loved, and then share it with your partner. I have to admit, this is a very difficult exercise. For me, it was really challenging. My wife Brandy she's an engineer, so she's a very literal, direct person. And, there's been times in our relationship where she's just said, Ray, you're obviously upset about something. Just tell me what it is that I need to do and I'll do it. But I'm the kind of person that's all touchy-feely and moody, and I'm like, well, I shouldn't have to tell you. You should just know me well enough to know what I need. And so there's even been times where she's pointed out, Ray, you don't even know what you need right now. And so, she kind of throws her hands up and is just like, how can I love you when you don't even know how you want to be loved? Now, obviously, I have the wrong approach, and it's no wonder I've been through a divorce. In an attempt to avoid a second, I finally wrote out this list and did this exercise for her, and she did the same. It was really eye-opening to see that a random I love you text for no reason makes her day. But if you text me in the middle of the day, I'm like Scrooge, and I'm like, bah, why are you bothering me while I'm trying to work? You can think of these different love preferences as your currency. If you want to make a deposit into this marital bank account, then you need to do it in a way that you'll get credit for by your partner. Just like banks don't always accept bills from foreign countries, our spouses don't always receive our efforts because of their style. One thing that can make or break a marriage is taking time to reflect on your relationship and discuss how you both are doing. It sounds awkward, and it can be at first, but setting aside time to say, hey, I noticed you brought me coffee this morning can go a long way, and it reinforces that you're both making an effort to go in the right direction. So when are you going to do this? People talk about the importance of date nights, but that's not regularly all that practical for many of us, especially with small children or older children that are in a lot of activities, or people who take a lot of business trips, or maybe people with no children but have a lot of volunteer activities. I mean, you see where I'm going with this. There's always something. But a great way to guarantee time to reflect on your relationship is to participate in a marriage retreat. We're putting on the One Flesh, One Day retreat here at Ascension on October 7th with Father Alessandro, and it's just a one-day deal. So you come in the morning, Father Alessandro is going to share some insight into God's plan for marriage, and we'll have an opportunity for you to work on this communication and reflect on what's going well and what could go better in your marriage. We'll have time for prayer, reconciliation. We end the day with our own private mass, followed by a candlelight dinner. Taking time to figure out your own love preferences and then sharing them with your partner is a relationship-changing experience. And it's important to note that this isn't just something for people who are on the verge of a breakdown or anything like that. I mean, everyone's relationship gets better when you make intentional effort to be more of what your spouse needs to be. Troubled relationships can be saved, but great marriages can get even better. I promised some examples of good Catholic parenting, and that's what we're going to talk about next time when we turn our focus back to practical things you can do to pass on our faith to your kids. We'll see you next time.